Hello and welcome to the show. We've got a Hot Wheels car on Forza 6, the latest DLC pack. I think it's rather cool that we've got a couple of fantastically crazy fictional, well, I say fictional vehicles. This Hot Rod, very much a fictional vehicle. The Mustang, kind of slightly more realistic, but I love crazy cars. And I'm really glad that Forza is including some more of these interesting vehicles. Actual DLC pack's got a bunch of interesting cars. Naturally, though, this is the first one that I wanted to have a go with. Now, we are going to take the Bone Shaker around the Autocross course. I was initially planning on doing a silly car build with this one. However, the standard engine can only get about 606 horsepower in it, which is not really enough for a silly car build. So instead, we're going to turn it into an Autocross car. It starts off at the sort of the top of C class. Relatively kind of decent usable PI for racing events, and hopefully it might do quite well. We're going to get some racing tyres on the vehicle. The rear tyres are ginormous to start with. I believe they get the largest tyres in the game when they're upgraded. Front tyres, we can get 265s on here. Got to remember, this is a very, very light vehicle. We're already up into A class. That's how much difference these tyres have made to the vehicle. Let's face it, 402 horsepower and 2,200 pound vehicle. That's good power to weight ratio for Autocross. So yeah, tyres are going to make a big difference. Full size front racing tyres. Now the rear, we start with 375s and it lets us have 425s on the back. They are humongous tyres. We may have a fair bit of understeer just because of the sheer size difference between the front and rear tyres. We will have to wait and see how it does. Also, the back of the car is very wide. I'm not sure if we're going to have problems getting it through the gates. That could be interesting. Fingers crossed we don't, however. That is quite a possibility. Right, to the aero parts. This car does have a special rear wing. The front, well, I mean, there's not really a huge amount you can do here, let's face it. With the front of the vehicle, you have, it's an interesting sort of splitter that goes underneath the skull, and that's not a thing you very often say in a Forza game. There we go. We have got the splitter and the rear. Are you ready? Are you ready for the rear wing? I'm not sure if you are, but there we go. It's just a giant. It's got fires up the side. It's a giant rear wing. Hopefully, she'll produce much of the downforce. We're probably going to need it. Right. That is some of the bits we want. We're also, of course, going to be wanting some upgraded brakes in an attempt to get the car, well, hopefully slowed down. We are going to want the roll cage. The roll cage goes on the outside. Of course, that makes perfect sense. Either way, I do quite like it. Well, yeah, this is by far... it's typical. I talked about the Chrysalis rocket when we did the racing video for that, saying it's the craziest car in Forza. Of course, like 2 days later, this thing has to come out. By far the craziest thing in Forza. I like that roll cage. We're going to have the roll cage. I am going to change the gearbox. The standard car has a 3-speed gearbox. Apparently, I reckon it's about 149. So if we go for this one here, I'm just like, maybe the standard gearbox actually comes with some decent ratios, possibly. We are going to change this though. In fact, actually, that's dumped me up PI massively. What I might do, I might be sneaky and just go for that one. I don't know how many gears that gives me. 149 is fine. To be fair, 3-speed would probably work fine for Autocross, in all honesty, because we're not worried about that sort of the real top-end speed. We're not going to get to it. And this car's got plenty of power and torque, etc., and it's very light, so we can potentially get away with that. Now, power parts. We're going to get a fair bit of power out of this vehicle, because these are not really increasing the PI very much in here at all, in fact. This is likely to jump it up. Yeah, it always does. Of course, camshafts always do jump it up the most. We may get about 500 horsepower out of this vehicle by the time we're done with it, and that is a sizable amount of power for Autocross in a vehicle that is this light. Now, if the PI is suggesting that, the PI is letting us, I should say, get this much power in such a light vehicle, that suggests to me handling might suffer just a tad. maybe. We'll have to see how it fares. Now, what I am going to do, let's just go have a quick look, see if we can... Aha, yes, we can sneak a driveline part onto the vehicle. 506 horsepower, 471 foot-pounds of torque in an incredibly light hot rod. Has got some massive tyres, so I'm kind of hoping that maybe the handling won't be too bad. This could go surprisingly quickly. Of course, to test out the Bone Shaker, I have brought it to the Hockenheim circuit, where it will get 3 runs through the Autocross course. Now, normally, with cars, I can have a rough idea, you know, the sort of vehicles they're likely to challenge on the leaderboard here. Sometimes I'm completely wrong about them, but you can tend to have a good idea. The thing is, there is nothing like this at all in Forza that has gone around this course. I have no idea how this could do. The tyres, certainly the rear tyres, were likely to be quite planted on the road. Could be quite quick through the gates. It could have quite good grip. It should have decent power to weight ratio, but put it all together, I don't know. Our current leader, the Renault 5 Turbo's 205.2, might get challenged by this. I would be surprised. It makes a glorious noise. I would be surprised if it does, just because of the sheer silliness of this. But you never really know with these vehicles just what might happen. It's actually pretty good through the opening gate. Now, please slow down for turn 1. We're going to go for some mighty acceleration. How do we do? Heading down here. Holy crap, this thing is fast. I don't quite trust it through that fast gate, though, on this first attempt. So we will be just a little bit on the careful side through there, as kind of expected. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, I have learnt something else. As kind of expected, there is a little bit of understeer from this vehicle. I'm not sure I quite trust it with the high-speed stuff yet. Also, what I did just notice there is it doesn't matter if I clip the gate with the rear tyres. I'm going to try not to, but it actually doesn't matter, because once the front has got through, that's the sort of the game counted as passing the gate. Doesn't matter what the rear of the car does. That's quite helpful. So, yeah, if I do get things wrong, I will be let off the hook massively. I thought I was going to have wiped out those barrels. We got away with it. This thing is actually really quite good. I was not sure what to expect, kind of silliness-wise, from this car. Tell you what, it does not do badly. The acceleration is mighty. The traction is even mightier in this. Oh, we got a crack. Yeah, it's almost 120 miles an hour again coming down here. The tunnel I was a little bit worried about, because the rear is so wide that we could clip the barrels. I think we are still good enough to get through there. The Hummer is the only vehicle that had problems with that. Oh, we got some understeer. Okay, you're going to have to be careful of that. The Hummer is the only vehicle that was so wide that it had issues going through the tunnel, and it looks like this one here shall be okay. Well, we not a perfect opening run by any means from the hot rod. Tell you what though, it is. Oh, now I've done some stupid stuff in this final section. Oh, and then we got some wheel spin. Actually drives pretty well. 3 gates hit in that run. 15 seconds of time penalties. This could be pretty quick if I don't make any mistakes. On to our second run with the Bone Shaker. Got to be a little bit aware of the understeer. That's the thing that I think is most likely to catch me out, and I know that's a slightly odd thing to say with this car, but that is by far the most likely to cause me trouble when I'm trying to carry some of the impressive speed through these corners. That understeer can ever so slightly catch you out. Now this bit here, I'm going to try and be, you see, try and be braver through there. You can't really take more than 100 miles an hour through that section. It's just not going to happen. The car does not have the front end grip for that part, but it will not step out of line, and that is what I like about this car. It does not step out of line at all around here. Oh, I locked the brakes ever so slightly. That's a little bit unfortunate. Now we can be flat through there. Does give us some good speed. I was actually a little early. Little early jumping on the brakes to make sure I got it under control. And I've slightly messed myself up for this part, which is not going to help our lap time any. Yeah, you can take that. The fastest part of the course will be taken flat out in this car. The understeer is not too much, and of course, because of these giant rear tyres, the back end is nice and planted. Oh, I think I may have clipped a barrel with the rear tyre, and that unsettled the whole car going towards the next section. We are still apparently okay, though, to keep going. Don't overshoot that corner. There we go. Try and get on the power. We actually... Even with these rear tyres, the back end still had a little bit of a wiggle. Oh, I've completely outbraked myself into the hairpin. Oh, that was my stupid on that one. I was seeing what I could do and asked a little too much of the poor hot rod, and now I've turned in a fraction too soon on that one as well. It feels very, very fast. This feels like one of the quickest cars I've had to drive around here. It's not like the time, you know. Okay, we got a couple of gates hit in that one, 10 seconds worth of time penalties. It feels a lot faster than it actually is, I think, but still, for such a crazy vehicle, it's actually doing pretty well. On to the final run for the Bone Shaker. I really want this car to do well for reasons of ridiculous vehicles. I do fear, though, there's a little bit of a case of the car feels a lot faster than it actually is. Not the first time that we have seen that on the Autocross course. Range Rover Sport SVR, the most recent vehicle. This should go quicker than the Range Rover. I have no doubt it's just not quite going to challenge the top of the table. But for such a crazy vehicle, it does far better than I ever expected it to, which is certainly a pretty big compliment to this car. It doesn't drive as stupidly as it looks. You see a vehicle like this, you expect it to drive in a certain way, and this thing really doesn't. You've got to watch out for the understeer. That is by far the biggest problem. Of course, these giant rear tyres are very, very helpful for getting that traction down and keeping the rear end in check. We just don't have a huge amount of front end turning. Even those with those huge tyres and the almightiest of wings, we've got, you can have some scary moments with the Hot Wheels car. Now we've just got to wait and let it get around these turns. Now don't get carried away. This is probably the fastest accelerating vehicle we've had around the Autocross course. Certainly one of them, with that immense power to weight ratio and the huge traction from the rear tyres, although we've got some understeer again coming around there, which is not going to help matters any. Brakes pretty damn good on this car as well, which is very, very nice, and they kind of need to be when you've got this much acceleration, 114 miles an hour, before getting on the brakes down into the hairpin. Oh, ran a little bit wide though through there, trying to get the car turned, and again up that corner, which has got to can't carry any speed. This is what kills the hot rod. You've just got to lift so much up that section because the front end will not get turned in, and it's probably not going to like this run to the line a huge amount either. Wiggle our way. Now we can boot it. We've got no problems with traction across the line. 209.362 from the hot rod. Yeah, the lack of front end grip on some of those final corners cause it no end of issues. Little bit of a shame on that front because the understeer is a tad problematic really with the car. However, for such a stupid vehicle, it's a fictional vehicle, let's face it, that's is not quite what I was expecting from the car. Definitely helped by such giant rear tyres. It still wiggles about all over the place, or can wiggle about all over the place if you're not a little bit careful. It's got 500 horsepower in such a light car. But yeah, I like it. I really do quite like it. Unfortunately, the understeer does kill it in a couple of places. meaning that it struggles to get turned in and you have to just lift and wait through a few corners. So, yeah, slight bit of a shame on that, but still, the time, pretty impressive. It goes into 35th place on our leaderboard. It beats the Ford Deluxe Coupe. It beats the Dodge Daytona, the Cooper Works Mini. It beats the Tesla Model S as well. It does sadly get beaten by a Subaru SVX, but it's only a tenth of a second down on that Subaru. The GMC Cyclone Honda NSX also beat it. It's a second down on a Honda NSX. A Hot Wheels hot rod is a second down around an autocross course than a Honda NSX. Just take a minute for that to sink in. This is a really damn good car. Outside of autocross, I reckon this would make for a pretty damn good A-class vehicle. It's got brutal acceleration, pretty decent brakes, and pretty good turning. The traction is fantastic. The understeer just kills it too much for such a tight course that we're running around here. On a normal racetrack, I don't think it would be a problem, and I think this would make for a mighty, mighty fast A-class vehicle. So, there we go. That is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.